You're listening to The Authenticity Show, where you get to eavesdrop on great conversations about health, creativity, and the quest for excellence. Your hosts are Carlos Casados and Satch Purcell. In this episode, Carlos and Satch challenge the wisdom of common sayings, offering alternatives, improved versions. And in a couple of cases, Carlos reveals his own misunderstanding about a few common phrases that is actually pretty hilarious. So, here we
go. Carlos, it is good to be paired up with you again. This is our first duo show, you and I, of 2019.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've done interviews of other people, fascinating people, but we haven't done this exchange that we love to do so much.
Yeah, and tonight we're going to be exploring sayings, terms,
memes.
Anecdotes, memes, things like that we believe are worth being challenged.
Challenged and just peering into, if nothing else.
The early bird gets the worm.
Work-life balance.
Very good, very good. Drastic times call for drastic measures.
Fall in love.
Oh, that's going to be a fun one. Political science.
Compassion fatigue.
Nice guys finish last.
Codependent.
Let's do this. All right. Is there one of those right now that really sticks in your craw?
Ooh, compassion fatigue.
Let's talk about it, because this is a term that I have heard a bunch of times. It's a term I've used. It's even a term that I've experienced.
Yeah.
Let's peek behind the curtain.
Well, as you know, compassion's a big thing for both of us. The meditation that we study, just the life path we're on as healers, things like that. And it's very popular term in psychology, this compassion fatigue, this idea that, you can wear out just sort of helping people and getting exposed to their problems. And, as a therapist or as a coach or, a priest or a mentor of any kind, right? This could potentially be something.
Yeah.
However, I want to challenge the basic foundation of that statement.
Please do.
Because compassion itself, as I'm growing to understand in my experience, is not empathy. It's not that empathy isn't related to compassion or that it may not lead to the growth of compassion. But as I understand compassion more and more, as I practice it in my life, I'm realizing that it's potentially unlimited. So if you're getting compassion fatigue, it could be that you have maybe misappropriated the word, or you've misunderstood the word, or you're misapplying the principles that you're associating incorrectly with compassion when it's really something else. Maybe it's empathy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's getting sucked into people's problems or whatever it is, entering their model of the world too much.
Yeah.
And you're experiencing their pain rather than being a light, rather than, grounding yourself in the truth and in wisdom and in solidity, so that you can be the person lowering the rope down in the pit where they are. Instead, you're falling in. You're getting sucked in. You're feeling battered by their psychic field, if you will, their emotions and their whole presence. And then you complain of being tired. You feel drained. So I don't really think that compassion fatigue is the right term. And I think if you use that term, in a way, it could be hypnotic in a negative sense. It could retrain your mind to be less compassionate and less capable of serving the people in your life. I think that what we really need to aim for is this idea that I really have grown friendly towards. And it's George Pransky. He wrote this book, I think it's called The Relationship Handbook or Relationship Manual. Don't quote me on that. But he wrote this, and he talks about compassion as being this wonderful, like a light or an energy that comes into and surrounds your organs. It surrounds the inner self, and it acts like maybe like a shield or a protective layering that can allow you to not only be more present for the people you love, but see them as human beings and not allow their problems to become your problems.
Yeah.
Allows you to be strong for them. Allows you to say, hey, as Daniel Gutierrez said, I'm not going to get sucked into your problems, but I love you. I love you for who you are. Spiritual love, agape. I love you, and I believe in you, and I'm going to be right here through whatever you're going through. But I'm not going to get sucked in. I'm not going to allow you to destroy my mood. Because you can't solve things from a low mood. You have to solve them from a high mood. You've got to raise your frequency, raise your vibration, raise your thoughts, raise your, the mental space that you're in. Because only in a resourceful space can you come up with a solution. If you're stuck in a low mood, well, how the hell are you going to solve anything?
Yeah.
So I'm starting to see compassion as something to really work on, to really develop. And I don't ever want to be thinking in my head that I'll have compassion fatigue. I'd rather say empathy fatigue.
Okay.
Because when I recognize that fatigue, it's probably because I've been too empathetic or too empathic, maybe is the right word, than compassionate. I see the images of like the Buddha or Mother Teresa or some of these wonderful beings that have existed as possessing an incredible amount of compassion, an incredible amount of faith in themselves, and faith in the underlying humanity. And that's not something that fatigues, in my opinion. It's something that develops, and you can grow it into a mighty force.
Yeah.
And apply it.
Sounds like you're describing compassion more as a resource, like an energetic power that's a tool in your toolbox that you can reach for maybe when you need energy.
Right.
I'm feeling empathy fatigue. Maybe I could use a little dose of compassion right now.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of getting this image of that flame inside of you. And when you're getting, quote, compassion fatigue, that we're risking our flame. We're getting it too close to a wet surface or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, let that flame burn your engine and keep it going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If that's happening, if you're getting quote unquote compassion fatigue, then maybe you've got a really serious misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not quite right. You're thinking of it a little bit, you're thinking around it is a little off kilter. It's not quite, you haven't quite tuned into what compassion is.
Yeah, that's a good point because, that word compassion fatigue is actually widely used in the healthcare field.
Oh,
because this is written about a lot, right? And so if there's anybody who's listening to this right now and you're a nurse or a doctor or a therapist or something, and maybe you're going, what do you mean? You're criticizing compassion fatigue, right? I would say, I read about all this too. It's one of those things that you learn when you're learning about job burnout.
Right.
It's usually associated with job burnout.
There you go.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I think what you're saying, Carlos, is there's a different angle on this. Let's not just completely accept the term for what it is. We could use the term loosely and understand that, what I mean is I'm tired. I don't have enough energy to constantly dealing with these sick people all the time or whatever it is. But you're pointing that there's something a little different about this.
Well, yeah. And why not exchange the term anyway? It is empathy that you're feeling, empathy fatigue. And maybe that's not the professional term yet. But if people realize that maybe that's not what it's all about and they realize it's a misunderstanding at its foundation, then maybe the word will change. Maybe the phrase that people use will start to shift. I mean, things happen in professional organizations where an idea can catch. And so I would love it. I would love to see that. I would love to see that people understand it differently because, what they don't teach in school is how to develop compassion. Now, if your school happens to be a Buddhist school that teaches healthcare, then they probably would. They'll have meditation classes and they'll have, that does exist. Naropa Institute, for example, has a psychology department. I don't know what else they do, but there are a lot of places where you can develop that. But if you don't get it from school and you don't have it naturally developing in you because of your upbringing or whatever, there are ways you can develop it. Meditation, the right kind of meditation, because there's lots of meditations out there.
Yeah.
There are certain kinds of meditations that can specifically develop compassion.
Well, I went to school at Loma Linda University, which is a Seventh-day Adventist institution.
Okay.
So it comes with a particular set of values. Many of the professors and a large student body there are Seventh-day Adventist, right? And one of the things that they did a really good job of is really training us on that patient-practitioner interaction skill.
Like the bedside manner kind of thing?
Yeah, bedside manner. Yeah, and some of the faculty of religion that taught some of our courses were chaplains, long time, well-trained chaplains, and I learned a lot from those individuals. And one of the most beneficial things that I learned, and I've talked about this with you before, is, well, let me back up. Usually when you're reading about compassion fatigue and job burnout as terms in like textbooks, they usually draw a distinction between the word pity and the word empathy.
Right.
Where pity is where you are sort of putting yourself in the other person's shoes. And then they look at empathy more as you standing next to the person, viewing the problem with them. But I think,
Interesting.
But I think what's happened is the word empathy, or maybe the more noun identity version of that term, to be an empath, has become kind of a zeitgeist term now. It's sort of, it's a big topic. You didn't hear people calling themselves empaths 15 years ago as much as you do today.
True.
And I think identifying as an empath for many of us has allowed us to slip into that pity mode without realizing it.
Right. And, full disclosure here, I definitely identify myself as an empath and a highly sensitive person.
You do.
I mean, there's
as do I.
No mistake.
Yeah.
And I've had to work through that. And if I hadn't worked through it, or let's put it this way, continually working through it.
Yeah, right,
I'm getting better and better at it,
right.
at being the kind of person who can not just be an awkward fucktard.
Sure.
Because that I've had many awkward fucktard moments, and I'll admit that fully.
I would not know what you're talking about at all. But yeah.
And, being highly sensitive to things, you feel as though you are feeling their stuff.
Yeah.
And that may be true. Or it may not be, but the point is you really experience it as true.
Correct.
And it does alter the way you experience things in a big way.
Yeah. And that, because, this, we are getting into semantics here, right?
Yeah. But that's good.
That is good. That's a wonderful thing. Semantics are wonderful.
They help clarify things.
They really do. They really do. And so the words, I think, empath, really, the original warning was, they didn't use this term, but they were trying to warn you about becoming a pity path.
Right.
Don't pity the fool.
Right. I pity the fool. Sucker.
Yeah. Stand next to them and view the problem as an ally. So you're not standing in their shoes, because you can't solve the problem from standing in their shoes.
Right.
You have to be able to relate close to their position.
Indeed.
But this is really important. Compassion is energizing, isn't it?
It really is. I feel better when I'm being compassionate.
I do too. And I gotta say,
worse.
There are times when, and I've misused this term. I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I've misused this concept of compassion fatigue at home with my wife.
Yeah.
Right? It's no secret I'm quite the caregiver at home. Right?
Yeah, you are.
And one of the things that actually energizes me when I'm feeling, quote, compassion fatigue, is actually compassion. There are times when I don't have the energy to maybe do something that's going to be difficult to take care of my wife. But if I take a minute and I think about her and how precious she is, and what an honor it is for me to be the person to be able to lift some of her burden, that's what gives me energy.
You get to be her hero.
Yeah, I get to. Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's an honor. It's a privilege. And so
wow.
that just pumps chi through my channels. You know what I mean? It gives me energy, and it's like, all right, here we go. Let's get on the toilet.
It's bravery. It reminds me of Kelly McGonigal when she talks about how to make stress your friend. The difference between,
yes.
remember that? The difference between,
I do.
Sort of reacting to the stress and getting the high blood pressure signals where, your heart's pumping really hard and your vessels constrict.
Yeah.
Versus reframing it as, stress makes me stronger, and thinking about all the ways in which it makes you stronger, and realizing that the body's processes are just ramping up to handle the stress. If you reframe it that way, then what happens is, yes, your heart might beat harder. However, your vessels open instead of close, which matches very closely the physiology of courage and bravery.
Yeah.
So you become more brave, you become a hero, you become able to handle the situation just by reframing it like that.
So I think the lesson here is that compassion itself is the secret sauce for this so-called compassion fatigue.
Yeah, I wonder where we've heard that before.
I wonder. Okay.
Well, and I do want to say that I think having the capacity for empathy is so important.
Oh my God!
I mean,
that's what makes the human
nice,
world go around.
Absolutely,
you know?
and it's nice. It's nice to know when someone has a capacity for empathy that they're not a sociopath or a psychopath, and that they've developed the ability to relate with others, and it could very well be a potential road towards development of compassion.
Yeah,
but it's not based on compulsions, and I think that's where the big difference is. It's like I think a lot of empathy could be just sort of a compulsion. It could even be an obsessive compulsion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's no control over that. But as you learn to transmute, to use an alchemical term, empathy, and start to look for what is the refining, redeeming quality inside this empathy. It's the fact that I care. Well,
Yeah.
if I care, what's the most profoundly helpful thing I can do?
Mm-hmm. Nice.
It's not being empathetic or empathic. I keep making that mistake.
Yeah.
It's not being empathic, it's being compassionate, because that's where wisdom flows, and that's where your energy is, and that's what you're stimulating in the other person.
Yeah.
Because you want them to come out of their low mood, you've got to go into a high mood, but you've got to be able to match them at some level, right?
Sure.
That's how you don't go out of rapport.
Yeah.
But if you're just totally in rapport with them and you're in such a low mood, then you stay there, and boy, you feel like you've been hit by a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
And how are you supposed to help them to get out when you feel like that?
Well done. And I think this is a perfect transition into my first saying that sticks in my craw, because it's kind of related to the one that we just talked about.
What sticks in your craw?
What sticks in my craw
Let's get it out.
is this term that I have a love-hate relationship with.
Love-hate relationship?
Yes,
Is that it?
yeah, this isn't the one. This is not, that's not the term. Because sometimes I find this one I'm about to say to be true, and sometimes I know it's complete hogwash. And that's that no good deed goes unpunished.
Ooh, yeah. Heard that a lot.
I've heard this many, many times. And in my particular field in education where I work, there have been many times that this term has come up. And it's sometimes appropriate, but it's not a law. It's not a rule. And I too often find that to say no good deed goes unpunished, there's some danger in it, because it can take away something really wonderful, which is to do good deeds, right? I mean, we're not saying that good deeds are bad, right?
Yeah.
But if we let this one slip past the psyche and start to spread and go viral, then suddenly it gives us an excuse to not do something good for the sake of goodness.
Right.
And so no good deed goes unpunished, I think, is inaccurate. I'm not saying there isn't some truth to it, because sometimes there is. I think the saying is really more that when you do good deeds, there certainly can be a vulnerability there.
If you hold expectations that are unrealistic, that's certainly true. If you're very attached to the fact that you are doing this thing for someone else and how great it is that you have done this thing for them, it leaves you wide open for that kind of thing.
Right.
And yet, the Tao Te Ching says, do your work and then retreat, right? Do your work and take no claim, no credit for it. Because the point is not that you get the credit for it, but the point is that you do the thing that you are deeply moved to do because it makes a difference, not because you need something in return.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the magic of doing a truly good deed.
Well said.
Yeah.
I need to adjust my mic here. It's twisting sideways.
I noticed that. I'm like, did you do that on purpose? I'm like,
Yeah. Okay.
you're getting all gangster with the mic, turning it sideways and shit.
Sideways gun. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm good. I think I'm good. So, some good deeds go punished, but it's this idea that no good deed goes unpunished is just an absolute. Right. And that's the problem with it.
Really,
it's an absolute.
What it is that what you're really saying is that some people don't appreciate it when you do something good for them, because they're not ready to enter into gratitude. They're not ready to receive that help.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's because the quote unquote good deed was done out of rapport rather than in rapport.
Yeah, and sometimes maybe done foolishly, sort of like somebody who can't swim tries to jump in the water to save somebody.
Right.
Okay, that's a good deed that's probably going to punish you.
It's misplaced.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, this term is often used in the business world, and it's usually associated with, you got a policy that says you shouldn't do X, Y, and Z. You're going to hold people accountable for X, Y, and Z. And then you try to bend the rule to help somebody out because they need it.
Yeah.
And then you end up getting in trouble for it.
Right.
And that's often how this is pitched. But this is not a law.
It's not a law.
That's the point. It's not a law.
It's not a law. It's not even a good idea.
Yeah. And that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. But you did say love-hate relationship, and it kind of reminded me that that's kind of a funky term, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of is.
I mean, listen carefully. Love-hate relationship.
Yeah, it's pretty bipolar-y.
It is. It's strange, and it's it bleeds into each other. Each idea. You love hate.
Yeah.
Relationship. Yay.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just
we have a life-death relationship.
I mean, I love hate, and I have a relationship with it. It's awesome.
Yeah. This reminds me of my mom saying that fighting for peace is like screwing for virginity.
Yeah, that's a great
My
one.
mom used to say that all the time.
That's great.
So, yeah, my mom was funny.
Anyway, I think enough said about that, but I just wanted to mention that
Yeah,
that kind
nicely
of slipped
done.
off your tongue, and it's like, yeah, that's another one.
Totally. I got it. There it is. There it is. Let's do another one. Give me another cross sticker.
Oh my Lord. The whole idea of fall in love.
Ah, yes.
As if somehow by loving and by surrendering to love, you are out of control and you're falling into something. It's a bit like the term lose yourself in a relationship. How the hell are you going to lose yourself in a relationship? I know what people have told me that means to them, but I challenge the roots of that.
Yeah.
Fall in love and lose yourself in a relationship.
Yeah.
I want to, the psychic bitch slap up the head, just up the backside of the head. It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah.
The whole point of loving is to expand who you are and to grow who you are and to experience something that goes beyond your normal experience. Of course, the idea is, oh my God, I would love to lose. All my life, I've wanted to lose myself. I've tried so hard because it would be wonderful. Instead of being afraid of losing myself, I want that. And yet I never have been able to. That's not because I haven't been in love. That's not because I haven't been devoted. That's not because I haven't surrendered deeply.
Yeah, you're
It's
right.
because I don't believe that my self is that small or that weak or that fragile that somehow falling in love and believing in something fully with my whole heart and spirit is going to somehow, dissolve the good parts of me.
Yeah. It sort of implies that you didn't really want to do it.
Yeah. Like you're going in half cocked or
slipped
something.
And you accidentally fell in. You know, it's like, I didn't mean to get wet.
I'm falling in love.
Splash. Right. Because the funny thing is, I mean, we've all used the term, right? And in the loose sense of our language, sure. Yeah, I use the term all the time. We've all used this term, right? Fall in love. But if I really analyze it, I usually actively swam towards love.
Right.
I
But just don't lose yourself,
Don't
Satch.
lose yourself.
Don't lose yourself.
I climbed in. I jumped in.
It's like,
I
if your
dove
self
in,
was so damn great, then why are you falling in love in the first place?
Yeah, right.
I mean, yourself is great, but the point is, like, what you worried about.
Yeah, to fall is to imply that you've lost your balance.
Right.
And being in love with another person is not about losing your balance.
Right.
It's about expanding your horizons and becoming and finding another part of yourself that was there. And it's so wonderful to find it.
And the whole idea of losing yourself, I mean, really? Like, think about that. If anything, when you love, it's a reflection of who you are, and there's a big time mirroring going on. So if anything, you're finding yourself. You're finding that which you love deeply. And you're also, in the process, probably discovering a lot of quote unquote personal demons that will pop up, your fear, your preferences, your sense of rigidity. All these things are going to come floating up at some point in a relationship if you go in full on. If you go in with both feet, into the thing, if you go in with an open sort of consciousness to experience it, you're going to discover stuff.
Yeah.
And not everything's going to be pretty. Not everything's going to feel great, but
yeah,
that's part of it.
I got a question for you, Carlos.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm not going to say falling in love. Instead of saying, I was gonna ask you.
Well, and
so
by the
here we
way,
go.
I don't mind the term. I mind how people mean it.
Right. The way we so just
The way
as an
it's said.
exercise, I'm
Yeah.
gonna try to use a different term. When you're growing in love with somebody,
Right.
How do you know?
When I'm growing in love with someone, how do I know? All I can say is that the internal experience that I have is one of expansion. It's one of dissolving of certain boundaries that feel immensely good to dissolve. And my whole body mind is lit up in the way I would be lit up, I guess, on those days when you feel your chemistry is just, perfect. You feel amazing. Like there's this connection that's a kinesthetic connection, but it also uplifts your way of looking out into the world and seeing the world. And music is everywhere. I mean, it's very hypnotic. I mean, I feel like I'm hearing more beauty as well. So it's all the senses become alive and awake. My whole being switches on. I mean, if you want to use a spiritual metaphor, I feel like all the chakras are just kind of spinning, buzzing, and expanding. And when I'm growing in love, I feel like anything is possible. I feel like I'm going to be surprised by even more amazing things that I haven't even thought of yet. Like I feel like I'm connecting to luck, abundance, fortune, optimism. When I'm growing in love, I feel like there's a timelessness that happens. I lose a sense of limitation, and I start to shift into almost a psychedelic experience of moving outside of time. So I start to imagine very strongly that I've known this person for a very long time, that maybe even goes beyond the limits of my physical years. So I start to have very beautifully irrational, creative imaginings about my situation, and it spreads into my life in a powerful way. I mean, I could keep going with that, but that gives you a taste of how I know that.
Wow.
It's a very powerful, all-engulfing, encompassing experience for me.
It's
powerful.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Not one thing that you said sounded like you lost your balance and fell into an alligator pit.
Well, that's relief.
I
was really worried about
that. Sounds pretty awesome. Like that sounds like more balance than usual.
Yeah.
That sounds like growing, not falling.
Yeah.
It sounds like actually expanding in every direction.
And it does.
Not
I'm
just
willing
one.
to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And that willingness, that rather than thinking I can't, I'm just like, okay, how am I going to do it?
Yeah.
It's not, I can't.
Awesome.
I want to meet the challenge of life or whatever it is, or connecting, or I don't see any of the boundaries that come up in the ego as insurmountable. I see them highly optimistically. I think, wonderful. I wonder how we're going to connect on this level. I don't think, that's not going to work.
Love bit me again.
Yeah, no, I
It's not
don't.
like that.
And I feel the person when they're not around. I literally feel that they're in my field of energy.
Oh, that's great.
And
That's great.
when I think of them, I truly feel that I'm actually connecting with them, that it's not just some personal hypnotic experience. I truly feel as though I'm experiencing that person's essence in my aura, in my space.
That's great.
And I send them love and connection and talk to them as though they're here with me in a sense, just maybe not
Nice.
externally. I don't speak it out in the world, but I think it and feel it and intend it very strongly.
Ooh. And there's no way you could miss all those things you just described.
Hell no.
It's happening. And
I
you
know
it.
when that's happening.
I have a very peculiar, I'll just use the word.
Too much gratitude. It's like,
Yeah,
boom.
yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
All those things you described, my experience too.
Nice.
Every single thing you described.
Nice.
I can relate to every one of those things. I have a very peculiar symptom. I guess it's not really a symptom. It's a sign, and I know is I can't picture her face.
Really?
I lose the ability to picture her face.
Wow.
And
What do you see instead?
I see just sort of a ghostly image of that person.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and no matter
Yeah.
how hard I try, I can't see details
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter. The details of what she looks like no longer matters.
Okay, so that's so interesting because I'm recalling when we talked about this now. You're refreshing my memory when we were running. I think we talked about it.
Yeah.
And I can relate to that. I realized that I can see their face, but what happens often is that I tend to zoom into their eyes, and then it's almost like one image starts to be replaced by the other. It's like all of a sudden their beauty on the outside starts to become more and more porous and permeable, like a mist. And what I'm seeing is like, I don't know, for lack of a better word, like the light that is them.
Yeah, exactly.
And
yeah.
And I have this sort of hallucinatory, dream-like image of them kind of dissolving. But I still see their face, so it's not like I don't see their face, but it's like I go into their eyes and it becomes beyond that.
That's
somehow.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can totally relate to that.
You know what's really funny is when Tanya and I first got together, it was very shortly after we sort of solidified our relationship that, okay, we're a couple, right?
Yeah.
She left the country for a while, like right away. And it was very, very hard. And the whole
go to
time,
Kenya?
no, she actually went to the UK.
Oh, okay.
And then spent some time in Cyprus, the country Cyprus,
Gotcha.
not Southern California Cyprus.
Near Long Beach.
Beneath Turkey, yeah. So she left the country, and I didn't have any pictures of her. And I couldn't remember what she looked like. And I was so in love with this person, but I can't remember what they look like. And I went like a month not knowing what they look like.
Oh my gosh, torture.
So it's just kind of funny. But
Sweet torture.
Falling in love. There you go.
Losing oneself.
No, it's gaining oneself.
Hell yeah.
Okay, here's my next one. You ready?
Yep.
The golden rule, which in the business world is this: the one who holds the gold makes the rules.
Okay, that particular golden rule.
That particular, not the sweet one that we all learn as kids.
The one which
Do
is do unto others
as you want them to.
do to you.
Do unto you. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
No. This is the economic golden rule. The one who holds the gold makes the rules.
Yes.
I don't know. Can I ask you, when I say that, how do you feel? What do you think about?
What I feel is that is how it works. And I don't necessarily like it.
Yeah.
But I accept that is pretty much how it works. If I were to simplify things, it's kind of how it works.
Totally. Yeah. And I feel that way too. Because I mean, you and I, we can be very idealistic, but we're also very realistic.
Yep.
And
it's both.
We're not denying that the world works a certain way.
Right.
I'm not pretending that
We're pragmatically positive.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not pretending that the gazelle is not going to get eaten by the more powerful lion.
Right.
I know that that's going to happen, right? But I don't like it when people resign themselves that rule is truly a universal law. Because some wonderful change and wonderful growth happens when we realize that even the one who holds the gold still is subject to certain rules.
True.
And it's okay to challenge that. And to say the one who holds the gold makes the rule sometimes does not serve the one who's holding the gold.
True.
Because oftentimes the one who's holding the gold is paying you for your expertise.
That's right.
And when you become a yes man and you go, well, hey, the boss said he wants it done this way. If you know that that's a mistake and you see something, you need to tell the one holding the gold that, hey, let's slow down. I'm just going to play devil's advocate perhaps. And I just want to make sure we look at this from all angles because that's my role here. That's what I'm being asked to do.
The king needs his wizard.
He does. Yeah. I'm glad you said that. This is sort of the emperor's new clothes concept.
It is. And it's even people who are quite powerful and wealthy can open their hearts to compassion and wisdom. Sir Richard Branson or maybe even Elon Musk. These people are very powerful. Perhaps the same is true for Bill Gates or for, who is it? Facebook.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know that for a fact, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he had a meditation instructor or something like that.
Right.
It happens. I used to, when I was younger, teach these really wealthy people Qigong, yoga, Tai Chi, and meditation.
Yeah, right.
And so it happens.
There you go. Yeah. The one who holds the gold makes the rule. I think it's inaccurate. There's a lot of truth to the concept, but there are inaccuracies in the concept. The one who holds the gold can certainly influence the rules. The one who holds the gold can find ways around the rules, but it's the idea that if there is a rule is something that is agreed upon. If you break the rule, and I'm using the word rule within the context of a game, okay? If you break the rule of a game, and you win, you actually never really won. So, it's this idea that if you're strong, if you're powerful, if you have leverage, which that's all money is a form of energy that can be used as leverage. If need be, it can be used for many other things. If you're using money as leverage, yes, you can break the lock. Yes, you can pry the door open when it's normally closed.
True.
And there is power in that.
And people favor you if you have more. So, for example, people who are well off get the best deals when they're the ones who don't need it.
Yeah. And I do want to point out there's a lot of people that believe this concept and they're in prison because of it.
Right.
So, the one who holds the gold influences the rules, but does not necessarily make them, even though sometimes that's true.
That's true.
Yeah. Give me another one, Carlos. What you got?
Money is the root of all evil.
Oh, amen.
Speaking on that last topic, let's just
there you go.
piggyback that
Let's
right
do it.
there.
Yeah.
I don't believe that money is the root of all evil, and I think that stems from a pretty basic biblical misquote. I believe the quote is something like, "The love of money is the root of all evil," rather than money being the root of all evil, and that's a little bit of maybe academic, scholastic laziness on the part of the listeners that begins to spread ideas like a viral meme, right?
Yeah.
But I would go a little further to say that maybe we need to examine what is meant by loving money. If what you mean by loving money is that you love what you can do with money, you love the opportunities that money give you because you can create such wonderful things in the world. You love the good things you bring to your family, to your friends, and to other people that matter to you. Then that's applying love, the principle that we really ought to apply to just about everything, to something that is kind of neutral. Power is neutral. So when you apply love to it, doesn't it sweeten it to a degree? I think what we're really saying when you say that the love of money is the root of all evil is, I think maybe what you're attempting to say by that is saying, don't get caught up in a singular focus around money. Realize that there's something much bigger than that. And really what you need to be asking yourself is, what does this money allow me to do that's so great, that you love?
Right. Yeah. Nice.
But I don't have a problem with someone saying, I love making money. I love being rich. I love being wealthy. I love the idea of, that's great. As long as you can temper that with wisdom. I mean, because, whatever problems you have, you add money to it and it's going to not protect you from those problems, really.
Yeah.
It can actually bloat them. I mean, we all see people crash and burn, people who suddenly win the lottery. Many of them become poor. Within 3 years, they lose it all because they can't handle the stress and they start throwing money at everything, and they get into drugs, or they get into dangerous behaviors, or they expose them to the wrong people because everybody comes around them like a moth to the flame.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of issues that come up. There's a responsibility when you are well off. There's a lot of responsibility with how you handle the power that is money.
Sure. Yeah. It's a good point. Yeah. the Indian guru that my family followed, that I grew up with,
Right.
used to say, when the pond is full of water, the frogs come. When the pond is empty, the frogs leave.
Yeah. Fair weather friends and
there you
blue
go.
sky companions.
Yeah, and when you've got money, the frogs come, and when the money's gone, the frogs leave.
Right.
But now he also said something I think is very wise. I would say this: there's wisdom in it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. This is one I want to be careful about, making a truth out of. But there is a lesson in it: is that money's like a pair of shoes. If it's too tight, it's really uncomfortable. If it's too loose, it can also be uncomfortable. And it's just, it's about finding balance for who you are.
Right.
You know what I mean? And some people are very comfortable with a lot of money, and they handle a lot of money fine. It's not an issue. They do incredibly wonderful things because of it.
Exactly. And they've got a different matrix inside their awareness that it can handle that. I mean, we might call this the financial blueprint, right? That T. Harv Eker talks about, that, give me 5 minutes and I can predict your financial future, right?
Yeah,
that whole idea
okay,
that how you grew up and what your ideas about money are, create a sort of a blueprint, a foundation or a matrix from which you will either earn and lose, or not earn at all, or earn a lot and keep it and continue to grow your money. These are all different possibilities that can happen based upon your underlying assumptions and presuppositions going into the world.
Yeah.
I think that as a person working through his own financial health and wealth and abundance mindset, I think it's super important for me personally to be okay loving the experience of what I can create and manifest through earning wonderful amounts of money. And I'd like to continue to grow my capacity to earn money. But it's never, ever going to be a singular focus. I have a purpose on this planet, and it's becoming clearer and clearer to me all the time. And my success is rooted in the idea that I want to reach goals, that I have goals, that I'm working to reach them. And money is a process. It's a wonderful reflection of what I'm doing. It tells me, it's a feedback system. And I love that I have that. So if I said I love money, that's where that's coming from.
Yeah.
But everyone who knows me knows that that's not the focus. It's just that we have to adjust and shape our focus in order to be the kind of person who can make money.
Right.
And to keep it. And
exactly.
to use it wisely.
You can focus on earning money without turning your back on other values and other things.
Absolutely.
It's sort of like, I forget who said this, but it goes, one who chases success runs away from peace.
Yeah.
And it's the idea, it's the chasing aspect.
Right.
Right. Success doesn't make you run away from peace. It may, or it may not. It may even create more peace, but it's the chase. It's the running after it. It's the running after it part. You don't necessarily need to run after it. Just walk towards it, apply some effort and be balanced, and don't burn all your energy chasing it, but spend a reasonable amount of time on it. Take it seriously, but not too seriously. Just like, you're going to take it seriously enough to eat some food today and breathe your oxygen, but, not go crazy chasing it.
Exactly.
Balance.
Yeah.
Okay, Carlos, you ready?
I'm ready. I know what you're going to say, but I'm waiting for it. Sorry.
Curiosity killed the cat.
Yes.
What a terrible saying.
I know. Let's not be curious, people.
I know, because, you'll die.
Right. Don't learn things.
If you want to get murdered,
go ahead and be curious.
Yeah. Goodness gracious. What would be a better one? Stupidity killed the cat?
Yes.
Yeah. Carelessness killed the cat?
Gross negligence killed the cat.
Yeah. Complete ignorance. That's a blender.
Going against your better wisdom killed the cat.
Yes, right. Curiosity did not kill the cat. No. My grandfather used to say, Cats are so curious. If you move a piece of paper a half an inch, they'll walk across the room to investigate it. But that's what I love about cats.
Yeah.
Cats are amazing.
Yeah,
they are
are.
curious, and that's one of the reasons we love them. We find them so amusing. You know, I love to watch a cat just. I love to watch a cat's mind just get completely crisscrossed when they see something they don't understand. I love it. It's so cute. Curiosity. I know you're somebody who's always had a lot to say about curiosity.
Yeah, well, I mean, the hardest things that you deal with can often be reframed if you just get curious about it. Isn't that true? Like, if you're so stuck in the problem, if you were to really switch gears, change gears, and get curious about it, you're a lot more likely to solve it.
Yeah.
Isn't that true?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, here's a real simple example. To just get curious if somebody has already solved this.
Yeah.
And just go, gosh, you know, I have a problem. I wonder if anybody on YouTube has ever made a video about how to solve this problem I'm facing. I'm curious. And then suddenly you know how to solve this problem on your computer, or how to fix your leaky faucet.
Plus, I mean, you know, maybe this is my own anecdotal experience, but how many extremely curious people do you know who are just fucking stupid?
Oh God, a lot of them. A lot of them. No, I'm just kidding, of course. You know, you know, usually the smartest person in the room is also the most curious person in the room.
Typically.
Yeah. You know, I mean, that's isn't that the deal with Sherlock Holmes?
Yes.
Isn't he pretty curious?
The game is afoot.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, you know, really think about it. Like, some of the most interesting people in the world, really, what we find interesting about them is their curiosity. They just ask questions. They investigate. They make you curious.
They deduce.
Yeah, scientists are curious, and mathematicians are curious, and physicists are curious. That's why we love the cosmos. And
I mean, remember Linda Palmer, you know, so curious in her exploration of philosophy, you know, at Carnegie Mellon, and then switching to something completely different, like brain science, because she's curious and wants to develop, you know, an understanding of, you know, human memory and endocannabinoids, you know, what a extraordinarily curious person, you know. And she's a brainiac, you know, she's amazing.
Totally.
What a brilliant person, you know.
And I mean, imagine all the breakthroughs that humanity has experienced. How many of those would not have happened without curiosity?
True. I think everyone that we've had on the show has been a curious person. You know, James Key, you know, the rhetorician, storyteller.
Very curious. Janice Davis.
She
was very, very
Holy
curious.
Cow, you know?
Yeah.
Without her curiosity, how would she be capable of developing the compassionate listening skills that she's developed?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, or Amy Hay, you know, with her curiosity about shapes and forms and textures.
Yeah,
patterns,
exactly.
Exploring, you know, shades of this and that. And
I remember her saying, "It's right there. Look at it."
Right. You know,
I love that. Oh my goodness,
I mean, we could just go on and on, but
yeah, exactly.
Curiosity is such a wonderful gift.
Gobs and gobs of it. So. Tell me about Whiskey Dick. Gotta hear about Whiskey Dick.
Okay, so this is a funny one, and you know, for those who are sensitive folks out there, just gonna let you know we're gonna get a little explicit with this one. Brown chicken, brown cow.
Yeah.
So
cover your ears.
Cover
in
your
3,
ears.
2, 1,
and go. So for many, many years growing up, I had heard this term. Obviously, you know, at about teenage years and up, this concept of whiskey dick. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why I didn't get it, but people were using it and it just seemed plausible. It seemed true that what they were saying was that when you drink whiskey, that you'd have this sort of unstoppable erection and you could go for hours and you'd be this, you know, machismo kind of, you know, it'd be this awesome sexual experience. And maybe it's the frame I had in my mind believing that, or maybe it's just something else. But as I got older and started to have sex, make love, etc., and drink whiskey and other alcoholic beverages, I never found, let's say, any issues with being physically ready for the experience, nor any issues with maintaining. And so I thought that maybe the numbness of the alcohol caused me to sort of feel like this, I don't know, super lover or something.
Sure.
And so for years, that's what I thought it was, until having heard it enough times and discussed it enough times, I realized that there was a mismatch between my concept of whiskey dick and what other people were saying whiskey dick was. Because obviously, and for those of you who don't know this, that term means you drink alcohol and you can't get an erection, or you drink alcohol and you're sort of flaccid and not really able to maintain.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to call the whole thing off because you're too drunk to have sex. Well, that hasn't been my experience. And so when I realized that, I kind of felt, for a moment, I felt foolish, but then I kind of smiled and realized that's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing at all.
The power of the fool.
The power of the fool protecting me once again. I'm such a fool, and it protected me. Yay.
That's great.
So I just think it's kind of funny. It's a little personal to share that, of course.
Sure.
But we're amongst friends. This is the authenticity.
That's right.
Crew. So anyway, I shared that.
Yeah. Thank you for your honesty.
You're welcome. We'll hope that Oliver doesn't edit this out too much.
Yeah.
But if he chooses to, we're okay with that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, I love it. The early bird gets the worm.
What is it about that gets your goat?
We started this episode by saying that we're not necessarily criticizing all of these things, right? But this one I have a personal problem with. I have a lot to say, and I'm going to get it off my chest right now. The early bird gets the worm has been used against me. I have been discriminated against because I'm a night owl. I am not an early bird. And
the night owl gets the mouse.
Exactly. Yeah. Who wants to eat a worm when you can have a mouse?
Right.
I mean, or maybe even a rabbit.
Totally.
If so.
Totally.
So, well, it's just sometimes we have these sayings in life, right? And again, this is an episode about just catching these things and not letting them soak into our subconscious, right? There is nothing wrong with being a night owl.
Nothing at all.
There's nothing wrong with being an early bird, right?
Nope.
But the point is, there are different rhythms for different people. And it's time we stop discriminating against people that have a different biorhythm.
Right. And this probably arises or derives from the puritanical upbringing, of our country. We kind of started this country with a bunch of Puritans. Yeah. And I say this country,
I believe this too.
Obviously talking about America. I'm not talking about all the wonderful indigenous people that were here before.
Yeah.
But I am talking about that sort of mindset of that puritanical work ethic that has become known.
Yes.
And, there's a lot of dismay when I think about that, because so much of the health problems that we have and social disorders result from that tension, that sort of rigid adherence to an idea without paying attention to the body, without caring for the bigger picture of family. Other cultures, many of them don't do that. We're the only ones that pride ourselves on our 18-hour days. Like, what the hell is that shit?
And being such a wimp that you have to take a vacation, and it's just
you're gonna have maternity leave for longer than in 2 weeks. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it drives me nuts.
Even 6 months. It's like, no, however long it needs to be.
The reason it bothers me is I am not a lazy human being.
Right.
I have worked and applied myself and, gone after advanced degrees and worked incredibly hard and pulled off miracles sometimes in the work world. Right. And it just drives me nuts when somebody's like, come on, lazy bones, time to get up. What? You're strolling into work when? It's like, just because you're too weak to stay up at night. I'm just kidding. I'm being a brat.
Exactly. How many people that are really, really mega rich are late owls? I mean, Mark Zuckerberg is an example.
Yeah, that's right. They do say it is a sign of genius.
And even if that is true, you can be just as smart being an early bird, but you certainly can't say to somebody who's not an early bird that they're somehow either lazy, going to be unsuccessful. You can, you can be successful, whoever you are, as long as you just find a way. You got to find your ikigai, right?
Right.
The things
There you go.
that you can get paid for, the things that you're good at, the things that you love, the things that people need, and zero in on what that sweet spot is inside of. And when you find that, you're not only happy, you're successful and abundant.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter whether you get up late, stay up late, or get up early and go to bed early.
Exactly. And just because I have a personal problem with it doesn't mean I don't understand the point that the saying is making.
Yeah.
Basically, it's about going for it. It's about being prompt. It's about being prepared. It's about doing what's necessary. You know
Having
what I mean?
a strong
I get
work
that.
ethic and all that.
Yeah, that's no problem. But this idea that, but I do find that oftentimes there is an extra value judgment that is superimposed on that one.
Yeah, there seems to be like only is implied in quotes or in parentheses or so. So like only the early bird gets the worm.
Right.
Like that's the only way.
Yeah.
That's kind of implied.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, going to bed early and getting up early certainly is a good thing, right? And Can be. And going to bed late and getting up late also protects the rest of the tribe from getting eaten by hyenas when the sun goes down.
Amen, brother. I don't want to get eaten by a hyena.
No, we are saviors.
Yeah, thanks for doing that,
Satch.
Satch.
Hey, anytime, man.
All right, so what else?
Okay, so this is going to be my last one.
Okay,
Here we go. You ready?
Yep.
Oh boy, this one gets me. Nice guys finish last. Such bullshit.
Yeah.
Nice guys don't finish last.
That's a dumb statement.
Actually, who finishes last is the person who finished last.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really technically what it is.
Right.
There's so many, sometimes the most unprepared person finishes last.
Right. Well, and the way people use that is what's really offensive.
That exactly.
It's like you're telling nice guys, don't be a nice guy.
Yeah. If you want to win, you have to be an asshole.
Got to be a dickhead. Yeah. That's
not. I don't see it. It's just not true.
No, it's not. I think you have to be strong if you're going to be nice. You have to be clear about your boundaries if you want to be nice. You've got to value yourself if you're going to be nice. If you're just people pleasing, well, that's going to be a problem, isn't it? If you're being weak, if you're not standing up for yourself, if you're not, say speaking what you need to say, if you're not finding your voice or whatever, if you're not creating, healthy boundaries with people, then that's going to be a problem. But you shouldn't advise someone not to be nice because kindness is a huge thing. I mean, it's so important. I mean, why would you date someone that's not kind? If you do, you're kind of idiotic.
Yeah, exactly.
You're addicted to pain or you're addicted to being mistreated. Like, how foul is that?
Right.
Being nice is a good thing. And if you are a nice guy and you're hearing this right now, be strong. Don't be weak.
Yeah.
But be nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful. What was that meme that was going on Facebook? It said, in a world where you can be anything you want, be kind.
Right.
Remember that? That was so
That's
nice.
beautiful.
Whoever
love
that up, oh, bravo.
And at the end of the Enlightenment video, the producer asked me, what if you could sort of leave people with a final word, what would you say? And I got really emotional when I said this, but it was really, I'm not sure if you can tell in the film, but I almost was in tears because I did start crying. He actually cut the film right after I said it. But
what a nice
I just said,
guy. Yeah,
I would want people to be kind to one another because we really need that right now.
Awesome. Yeah.
We really need
Beautiful. And by the way, if anybody's not seen the video, it's on YouTube, Enlightenment, starring our very own Carlos Casados as one of the interviewees on there.
Thanks.
It's a must watch. So
I felt honored to be part of that.
Yeah.
But back to this nice guy thing. There's a book out there called No More Mr. Nice Guy, and it's filled with some decent advice about creating boundaries and accountability for yourself and not getting used and abused and stuff like that. But I worry a little bit about people misinterpreting sometimes and just sort of not being the kind person that they're meant to be, that they want to be. I'm not saying don't read it. I'm saying it's got good stuff in it. It's useful, but don't confuse niceness for weakness.
Yeah.
I have from time to time have had to say that with people I've dated in the past. I say, you know what? Don't ever think that I don't have an edge. I do. I'm a human being. And I do my best to be kind. because I think it's important. I like to be nice. But to confuse that for weakness is a big mistake because I'm not weak. I'm very resilient. And at the end of the day, I value my friends and myself and my path and what I'm doing. And I'll do what I have to do to protect all those things. It's the same for, somebody who's trying to take advantage in some other way. It's always that thing. I'm going to be kind, but there are boundaries, and there's a place where it's like, do not tread.
Yeah.
Or else.
Yeah.
We all have
exactly,
that.
Exactly.
We all have that.
This nice guys finish last concept is often associated with a similar saying, which is if you're not cheating, you're not trying to win.
Yeah.
And it's the same kind of mindset,
Yeah,
it's this
like
idea,
at any
it's like,
cost, I must win.
Seriously?
How
Really?
foul is that? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, because if you win at any cost, then you didn't really miss the
What
point.
did you win in the end? Yeah.
You missed the point, Anyways.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and to bring this into a lighter finish on that.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I misunderstood. That statement, nice guys finish last.
Really?
You know me, dirty mind, pure heart, right?
There you go.
I always
let's hear it.
interpreted that as, this idea that you're going to please her before you please yourself. That you, you know what I mean? That if you're really
That's
nice,
great. Yeah.
if you're really a nice person, that you will care about how they feel.
And so you'll finish last.
And you'll finish last
so
because
that she gets to finish.
the whole point is that she
first.
gets to finish first. I mean,
Beautiful.
because you love that person and you want them to feel good.
I'm going to give you an ink blot test.
Yeah, you know what? I interpret things differently, and it just shows you how
great.
I start to realize like how freaking weird I must be to actually have thought that for all these
man,
years, and
that's
then I got
great.
older and realized, oh my God, that's not even how they meant it.
That's not about sex.
Yeah,
That's
right.
great.
Everything
Oh my
to me is
God.
about sex,
I love
right?
It. I love it.
But seriously, like
Yeah.
I'm not displeased that I interpret things wrongly sometimes, because a lot of times it's stuff like this, and I go, oh, that's what you fucking meant by that?
Yeah.
How weird.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
So, oh man. Well, Carlos, let's come to the last one. I think we're about out of time here.
All right.
We're
What
going
is
to
it?
wrap the show up. Yeah. The last one is one from your list, and it is love hurts.
Love hurts. Does it really? Does it have to? Is that a great frame to have when you're going into love?
Love
That
hurts.
love hurts.
I mean, does it really hurt? Because you described falling in love earlier, and it was
Didn't sound anything like hurt, did it?
pretty glorious,
And what is meant by love if you say love hurts?
Yeah, love hurts. Again, I think being in love and doing loving things and being a loving person is a good deed, and we covered that early in the show. That the whole idea of a good deed being punished.
It does.
Love can involve hurt, but love itself doesn't hurt. Love doesn't hurt.
Well, it seems to imply that love is a weapon, and I don't believe that.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
believe
exactly.
that, then you're a sociopath, and
Right.
you should just jump off a cliff because
Yeah, right.
you shouldn't be around hurting people with playing with their emotions. I mean, that's just dumb. But also, it's the idea that you have maybe no boundaries, and you're going to be so open to being wounded, and here's the knife, honey, just stab me in the chest. Like, no, hell no.
Yeah.
That's a really important thing. Love hurts. Why?
Yeah, and I think in our modern world with sitcoms, television shows, there oftentimes is a mockery of love.
Yeah.
And it's funny and it's okay for a TV show, but we got to be really careful about taking those as realisms, as truth. Like I think
Yeah.
of the mom and dad on Everybody Loves Raymond. Now we secretly know they really love each other, but they play these characters like they're so miserable in love. Like love is such an awful thing,
Yeah.
And I think it's the lack of love that really hurts. It's not the love part.
I think you're right. And if we were to turn that phrase around to what it maybe really ought to say, is to open yourself to a relationship could involve some hurt if it doesn't go the way you hope.
Yes.
That's really what it's saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that is true. You have to be willing to risk something in order to achieve something. It's nothing ventured, nothing gained. But
Yeah.
then again, it's also that statement of anything worth doing is worth doing badly at first. And, failure is not failure, but feedback.
Yeah.
It's all those things
Right.
all in
Right.
that statement. But love hurts, not really a good frame to have when you're going into love.
Yeah, exactly. It's like saying children hurt. Well, so having a child could hurt, right?
Yeah.
But children are amazing.
And it relates back to the compassion fatigue nonsense.
Yeah.
So, when you love people, it's just going to open you to being hurt. Well,
All right.
yeah.
Well, we did it again, Carlos.
Yeah, this was great exploring these ideas. I like talking about it. And I'm glad that we didn't discuss a bunch of them beforehand, because it allowed me to hear your exploration and you to hear mine. And
totally.
It was just fun
great.
to think
fun.
about it.
Yeah, it was
There's probably
fun.
hundreds of statements we could do this with, but it was fun just the ones we picked,
Yeah, absolutely. But this is really about a mindset. It's not about statements. It's about a mindset. It's
exploring ideas. Yeah,
about exploring. So, all right. Well, hey, let's bag it.
My fellow intrepid explorer.
All right.
Fellow psychonaut. Thanks again, man.
All right.
It's been great.
Awesome.
You've been listening to The Authenticity Show with your hosts, Carlos Casados and Satch Purcell. This show is produced by Oliver Alteen, that's me. I also wrote the theme song, which you're listening to right now, and the rest of the music for the show. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, please like us on Facebook and follow us on YouTube. And you can find our website at authenticityshow.com. Thank you for listening and have an authentic day.